Bitcoin has just created the highest weekly candle close in the history of price action at a price of over 106,000 US dollars. We are going to be taking a look today at the probabilities of directional continuations higher, potential new all-time high targets, the short-term volatility and eventual breakout, as well as the total cryptocurrency and altcoin market. Before we get into it, make sure to smash that like button, hit that comment button, and subscribe to the channel. We post daily videos for Bitcoin focusing on the facts, the data, the technical, and the structural information. No hype, no BS, no emotion, just pure raw TA. If that is the kind of content you are interested in, you can also join us on Telegram. This is the first link down below. You'll get access to charts, updates, videos, educational posts, news events, and everything you need to stay in the loop for cryptocurrency with Bitcoin and the relevant economic news. And if you are interested in joining our VIP channel, you can go ahead and do so by clicking the pinned comment of the free channel and contacting our admin, as well as checking out a 50+ month trading track record, a 10-minute video showing you inside the channel, and of course you'll get access to the main trading channel and exclusive group chats. We post trading setups with exact entries, exact targets, exact stop losses, trade justification, exclusive analysis, and so much more, including access to our group chats with our general chat, our trading chart and education chat, our news, our help, our daily video, and our community setup chats. Check it out. We'll see you in there. Let's jump on into it. So as we can see, guys, Bitcoin has finally established a new closing all-time high at around 106.6k, breaking through that weekly range high, which acted as a major level of weekly resistance from the dates of around the beginning of December 2024 all the way into early Feb. So a massive breakout over here of massive proportion in terms of the probabilities now for macro continuations to new all-time highs, and of course we'll be discussing what this means in detail in today's video. We can also see on the short term we have had a heap of volatility, particularly moving into the weekly candle close with a massive failed breakout initially, dropping all the way back down to that mid-range of the channel, literally hitting the mid-range on the dot before rallying and breaking through toward the upside. So a lot of indecision, a lot of volatility, a lot of confusion on the short term, but we can take away and strip all that confusion away by zooming out a little bit and looking at these higher time frame charts. And again, we're going to be doing that in the video today. We can see with this volatility toward the upside, the total cryptocurrency market has as well bounced from that major level of support at 3.19 trillion, and the altcoin market has been able to sustain above the baseline of the Ichimoku cloud, which we defined as essentially the critical reversal point in yesterday's video. So we have a lot to talk about today, guys. Now let's start on the market data. 24-hour volume and liquidations. Let's go ahead and jump on in. I do assume these are going to be relatively high, and we can see here volume sitting at 310 billion. So up around 47% here, pretty large surge, with liquidations coming in just over $500 million, up 107%, with 541 million total, 314 million from longs, and of course 226 million from shorts, with just under half of those total liquidations actually coming from Ethereum, as Ethereum took about a 4 to 5% drop toward the downside prior to this breakout for Bitcoin. So although Bitcoin went up, we did see Ethereum actually suffer a pretty steep short-term flush. Moving over to the DXY, guys. DXY, not too much unexpected occurring here. Still sitting above that 100 level on the change of character. We're watching for potential reversals to that 200 moving average. If we drop back below 100, we are then expecting this macro downward trajectory to continue into 93, into 94. Moving over to the S&P 500, guys. The S&P 500 had a fantastic week last week, being able to break through some major resistances, not only 5,700, 5,800, but we got above our change of character around 5,930. We can see the daily candle closed above, and the current weekly /daily has now opened just under that change of character level. We do need to see this daily candle remain green. If this daily candle does turn red, we may be marking this as deviation from our prior resistance. We could see a short-term pullback develop into 5,800. If we are able to sustain above the opening price of our prior daily candle, we will be avoiding engulfing this candle and the trend will likely continue. Macro targets will be 6,150 to 6,120. Essentially, we're looking for these prior all-time high ranges to be retested if we can sustain above this level. If we're zooming to a macro chart, there's absolutely no doubt that the S&P 500 is a bullish trend over here and is in an uptrend. And through the course of the last month to 2 months, we've established some nice higher lows as the price has traveled toward the upside. So provided we can sustain above a minimum of 5,600, the macro expectations are eventually that we push back into these highs, irregardless of what really happens along the way to achieve that. So overall, looking pretty good. That is it for the broader markets, guys. I want to get that done nice and quickly, so get straight into Bitcoin. We do have a lot to talk about, as we mentioned. So before we get into all of that, if you do want to support the content even further, support me making this content for you on a daily basis, and most importantly, support yourself in your trading journey, sign up to BitGet, BitUnix, or BingX. These are the exchange links down below. You'll get a lifetime trading fee discount of 15%, which can build up to 45%. And of course, you'll support the content and trade on exchanges I trust. We'll play a quick ad and we'll get back into the content. If you are looking for a new exchange or just want to support the channel, sign up to BitUnix with the link down below. You'll get a lifetime trading fee discount of 15%, which can build up to 45% based on your trading volume, as well as access to a bonus reward center, and of course, all of the exclusive campaigns we run on this exchange. You'll also get access to BitUnix being a non-KYC exchange, meaning you can sign up from anywhere in the globe without regulations. And most importantly, I only promote exchanges I trust and I use. As you can see, I trade on BitUnix very regularly, being the highest VIP level with over $500 million in trading volume for the last 30 days. And lastly, if you were interested in signing up to our other two exchanges, BingX or BitGet, you can also do that via the links down below. You as well will get the 15% trading fee discount and everything else that comes with it. Go ahead and sign up. Thank you for supporting. Let's jump back in. Okay, legends, let's go ahead and get stuck right back into it. The weekly candle close has just completed for Bitcoin. Now, this weekly candle close was a very significant one, as we have managed to close above our weekly range high, which was sitting at around 104,460. As we can see, represented by this horizontal level. Now, there's a few reasons why this weekly candle close was significant. Is because it will increase the probability. So number one, potential macro continuations to all-time highs, and it has essentially changed this level, or at least resulted in this level being able to be attempted as an area of support. And that has profound impacts on the macro charts. So let's break this down. What really was this weekly candle close? What does it mean? Where's the price action likely to go? And how does it change the probabilities on the higher time frame? So first and foremost, we have to look at how the price action has historically responded to this level, and why we had this level in place in the first place. So this is going to be our weekly range high, which represents essentially the highest price the weekly was able to close in our historical price action, meaning anything above that weekly range high, we'd expect the price to suffer immense volatility. And what we have seen is immense amount of selling going on at those levels historically. So what we have seen now is the weekly candle has been able to breach into that weekly range and actually sustain within the range. So that tells us at the moment, in comparison to what we have seen in the past, we have larger amounts of demand for the price at these levels than what we have seen historically. And that automatically increases the likelihood that we are going to be sustaining above what we have seen happen, or above this range over here that we have seen historically, which increases the likelihood that we move into a new all-time high. Okay, so the probabilities are in favor of us moving to an all-time high this time around, in comparison to what we saw in these last few attempts upon the breakout of these weekly ranges. If we're taking a look at our technical level, guys, we can see, or technical levels, we can see with the breakout of our RSI, we have the 62.09. Now the 62.09 is an indicator, as you know, if you've been following the channel, we've been using for a very, very long time. It is a weekly momentum indicator. Essentially what we have noticed over the last few years of Bitcoin's price action, every single time we see a breakout of 62.09, we have eventually seen Bitcoin break through prior range highs of prior consolidation structures and inevitably move into either a new all-time high or see a relatively large high time frame rally. Those rallies have spanned between 10 to 70%. We have 11 instances since 2015, I believe, that we have seen these breakouts. And currently, out of those instances, every single time we have seen the price action either clear through its prior structural high, which we are seeing yet again, right? This is a clearing of the prior structural high, or a rally of around 10% and upward. So let's quickly delve into that, what it means and what it could tell us about where Bitcoin may potentially move to now that it has broken through its range and what targets we may potentially see. So what we have seen over here, guys, and we're going to use the last 2 years as an example. If we zoom into the last 2 years of price action and zoom in this RSI in a little bit, we can see upon the breakout of the 62.09 here on the weekly, we saw the price action establish a new high above that range high. So the range high at that gray box around 31,000. Upon the breakout of the RSI, we saw the price action push through and eventually move into a new high point. We saw a descending channel formation develop. Again, we had the breakout of the RSI resulting in a continuation through the channel, but eventually we saw the break of the 62.09 on the RSI, which we can see resulted in a continuation through that prior weekly high. Again, continuing in upwards into consolidation, establishment of a new range high. The same thing, we eventually broke through the 62.09, resulting in a continuation through that prior established high. So based on historical averages, we could expect at least a 10% move from the breakout of this weekly range high, based on what the RSI suggested, which could take us as high as around $115,000, provided we are able to now sustain above this weekly range. So what we have seen in the past 3 instances, we go to a log scale to make this a little bit easier to see, we have had macro consolidations, we had our macro horizontal channel formation, we saw the breakout of the descending channel on that RSI, followed by, again, the breakout of the 62, resulting in a strong continuation upwards. We saw the second scenario, which is the descending channel formation, the breakout of the RSI on the downtrend representing a positive momentum shift, followed by a breakout on a 62.09 representing a weekly momentum shift, resulting in a continuation to new highs. And what we have seen again is we have seen the breakout of the downtrend on the RSI representing a momentum shift, reversing the price action of the downtrend, and now a breakout of the 62.09 clearing through these prior highs. So out of the last 3 scenarios, what we have not seen is we have not seen a scenario where the price action has, after breaking through the 62.09 and clearing its prior high, been unable to sustain above. So what would we need to see to be concerned that this breakout would now no longer sustain would be a scenario that has played out, or a scenario that plays out which has not played out in the past, which is going to be that the weekly candle, the current weekly candle, is unable to sustain above this weekly high, and we've seen an engulfing bearish candle below the breakout. If we see that, and that alone would confirm we are going to see corrections down. Until then, the expectation is that we continue upwards based on the momentum analysis. If we take a look at the S&P 500 really quickly, a very similar scenario here for the S&P 500. We had the breakout of the weekly of the change of character, the daily, sorry, and we are seeing this potentially move into an engulfing candle. If we do see the engulfing candle, only then would this be a potential short-term top, which could reverse in a reversal. And if we extrapolate that same concept now to the higher time frame, to a weekly chart, the same thing would remain valid. So if we do see that engulfing candle present, that would indicate this may be a potential top for Bitcoin on the short term, potentially in the higher time frame, which could result in a correction. But until that happens, the expectation is upwards, as that is what the data is suggesting. If we're taking a look at the macro charts a little bit more over here, we've talked about the momentum, we've talked about our structure levels, we've also talked about potential targets. The next question is, What's the worst case scenario? How low could Bitcoin realistically go while still remaining in a macro uptrend? And the answer to that is, well, we have to define when the macro bull market started and what indicators triggered when that initiated, and then look at those indicators potentially invalidating. So that would be, of course, the 50 EMA and the Gaussian channel upper band. What we've seen is we remained above the 50 EMA and the Gaussian channel upper band this entire time, and therefore a loss of those levels would invalidate its market and result in a macro downtrend. Again, that is only expected if we drop below these levels. Something to keep in mind in the weeks to come, months to come, maybe a long time to come. Whenever that may happen, it is definitely something to consider. So let's move over now to, let's take a look at the short-term chart. So we'll move over to total crypto market cap. So a lot of confusion here on the short term, a lot of chop, a lot of volatility, a lot of indecision. If we just go down to like a 5-minute chart, we can see how volatile we saw that price action really react here on the short term. We saw the price rally through that range. We saw a high at around 106, and then we dropped around 3%, just under 3% in the matter of around 3 hours, which some people think 3% is not much. But the reality is, guys, 3% for Bitcoin at a market price of 106,000, the amount of change, the amount of value change on market cap there is astronomical. It is a pretty large move, particularly in 3 hours for an asset that's in the trillions now. So it is a large move, and we have seen a lot of volatility, and we saw liquidation data to kind of support that over there. So what we are expecting now is, again, the same expectations we've talked about before. We've talked about the VRPV gaps toward the upside and the downside. We've talked about these volatility gaps. So we still expect, again, immense volatility to continue. We've seen volatility, and we expect that volatility to mostly continue toward the upside. If we take a look at the measured move target of this horizontal consolidation, we're going from the range high, which is 104.8, to the range low, around 101.7, applying that to the breakout point. And this will give us a expected target based on the consolidation we have been in over the last week and a half. So the expected target over here is around 108,000. That is, of course, very shy compared to the 115,000 target based on the RSI and the weekly. But again, the price moves from continuations into consolidations, into continuations, into absorption, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's what we've been seeing lately. We've been seeing these continuations into consolidations. We had the first one over here, a reversal into a consolidation, into a continuation, into a consolidation, into a continuation yet again, and again into a breakout. So we're seeing the same pattern play out. So the maximal target we would expect to see based on this consolidation will be 108,000. Will we reach that target is another question. But if we reach that target, if you're entered based on the premise that this would break toward the upside, that would be the exit point based on this move. So we are, or should I say, we had seen around, I'd say about 65% of that move, maybe 70% of that move had already occurred to the rally to around 107,000. So it is going to be a little bit late to enter if your justification, in my opinion, that's my opinion, I wouldn't enter personally, if your justification is I'm going to long the breakout, because we've already seen 70% of that breakout occur based on that measured move. So what do I think is going to happen here? I'll come back to the same thing I've said prior. I look at the invalidation points and I trade based on an invalidation perspective. At the moment, the 50 EMA is still going to be that level we are sitting above. So while we remain above the 50 EMA, we can see mean reversion back into it and then continuations. That is totally acceptable, totally fine. But what we are really watching is we are really going to watch if the price action comes back to retest this VRPV range over here. How are we going to find demand? How is the price going to respond? Are we going to find support here? Are we going to push back upwards? Or are we going to tank below, marking this as deviation, suggesting that we did not find demand for the price above this range high, which could result in that RSI spilling over and the price creating a potential short-term top? That is something to consider. That is definitely a warning sign, something you have to be aware of. And again, with this volatility in the short term, it does add an element of risk because it makes this a little bit more uncomfortable to enter. The certainty you have in entering positions where we have immense volatility prior to breakouts becomes a little bit more risky. Okay, so again, Overall, short term looks good. We have reached around 70% of the breakout target, so it is a little bit late in my opinion to enter positions if you're looking for that 180,000. I'll be watching to see how we respond at 180,000, watching to see if we breach through or we enter a new consolidation, maybe back down to that 50 EMA before we continue upwards. Or of course, worst case scenario, watch to see how we react if we come down to this level and we react at that 50 EMA for deviations. That's the short term analysis. Let's jump over to the total. So although Bitcoin has seen a breakout, we haven't really seen what we need to see yet on the total cryptocurrency market cap. And this is a big one. This is a really big one, guys, because the total cryptocurrency market cap is very important for the macro trajectory of the market. What we need to see for us to be very confident in the market as a whole, altcoins included, to continue more upward, is we need to see this weekly high taken out. We need to see this level, this 3.33 trillion taken out. We have not seen that. We have come up, we've rejected. So even though we have seen a breakout on Bitcoin, if we do not see strength up here, enough strength to push us into potentially new all-time highs, there is a chance we do spill back down. There is a chance we see that total altcoin market cap continue down and the total market cap and total altcoin market continue down, particularly with the fact that we do have this negative momentum shift that has already occurred. We have failed to break through this level at the moment. There is a plus side to this. If we do break through here, it's going to be very, very likely that breakout will sustain and we will see Bitcoin go to a new all-time high and we will see the total market cap push into these prior highs that we made back in December and January. Essentially, the market would have recovered that entire drop we've seen through the first quarter and a bit of first quarter and a half, maybe even 2 quarters of 2025. So something to consider, guys. Definitely optimistic, but aware of the circumstances. If we do drop below 3.19, we do run the risk of then a correction. Think about this as a horizontal consolidation, okay? Just as we had horizontal consolidation of Bitcoin, we had consolidation, then breakout, then continuation. If we see consolidation breakdown, we will see continuation downward, okay? And that will lead the market over here. Looking at the altcoin market, a similar thing over here, bullish on altcoins on the macro, provided we remain above the baseline. If we drop below the baseline, very concerned about larger corrections back to these lows, 800 billion. Until then, expecting that to act as a level of support and potential reversals to continue upwards into that, again, that prior level of liquidity, 104, 106. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a fantastic rest of your day. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. I'll see you then. Bye.